This video will show you a self-acceptance exercise that you can apply today in your life that can allow you to really feel better about who you are and understand yourself at a deeper level. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I feel just kind of guided or inspired to do an exercise with you guys that I think can really allow you to feel much more present to the moment and to feel much more accepting of who you are. Now, I just got back from Costa Rica recently, and on that trip, I understood and I really came to comprehend this idea of acceptance, but not just from an intellectual point of view, but to really learn to embody the feeling of acceptance. Now, understand that there is always a gap between who we are on the inside and who we are on the quote-unquote outside, even though the outside in a way is a reflection of who we are, an reflection of what we believe to be true. However, when I learned maybe a week ago how to really accept the present moment, everything began to change for me. I began to feel better. I began to realize that as I was more accepting of certain situations and accepting really just of the present moment, that the more I did that, the more I increased my own state of being and the more peacefulness that I felt. So let me ask you a question. How would you like to feel peaceful whenever you decide to? How would you like to feel peaceful by just bringing everything back into you, by bringing yourself back into the present moment? Well, I feel this acceptance right now. I feel very present to the moment right now. And I believe that through these videos, you are able to feel my state of being, and that's one of the reasons why I love making these videos. I believe that my energy, in a way, is kind of being shot through the camera and to all of you guys watching. Now, what I wanted to do is a little exercise with you right now. And I want to ask you, can you feel maybe the presence that I have? Now, I'm not saying this from an egoic point of view. I'm saying this in a state that I am accepting the moment to be, no matter how it shows up, no matter if I know what word to say next, no matter what it is. I'm accepting this moment to be right now. I am feeling very present to the moment. And I can feel this as almost like a dance between me and the present moment. I can just feel it like I'm just embodying myself 100%. Now, because of that, what I wanted to do was to just kind of emit this by bringing my energy back to my core, by feeling this, and by, in a way, showing you guys what this is, and allowing you to maybe have certain perspectives that can align you with self-acceptance for who you are. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through a list of statements of accepting the moment to be. And what you can do is you can choose to kind of follow along and just to kind of like let these prime you for your day. Let these prime you for knowing that you can feel self-acceptance. And that as you do that, you will feel completely different about who you are. You will maybe have a new perspective about who you are at a larger level. And allow yourself to really start to relate your inner world to your outer world in a completely new way by understanding that they really are part of the same. That as you accept yourself 100%, other people will accept you as well. And this came to me actually when I was on the airplane not too long ago. I was on the airplane, I was sitting in a window seat, and there was a lady sitting next to me, and she fell asleep about 30 minutes into the flight, and she put her hands over the armchairs. So my armchair was right here, and she put it over, and it was kind of like digging into close to where I am. So I kind of had to be close to the window in order for her not to be touching me. She was this older lady. She was asleep, you know what I mean? Her mouth was wide open. And I felt resistance for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I was like, do I wake her up? You know, her arm was over these little buttons that I could do to push the TV, even though I knew I wasn't going to watch TV. But I was like, oh, I could just pretend like I need to touch one of those buttons and wake her up. And then, you know, her hand won't be like over my armchair. But instead what I decided to do was to take it as a lesson for me to become more present to the moment. I started to just accept that that was happening, not to give it any excess meaning, any what is called excess potential. I'll be talking more about this later. And because I just let it be, I allowed it to be, I accepted it as part of the moment. I defined it as being perfect for the moment. Now I understand perfection. I'm not saying that people need to be perfect. I'm not saying that even you need to be perfect. But understand that the moment can always be perfect because it is what it is. And what I did is I accepted that to be. Now the funny thing is the moment I started to accept it, I started to feel completely different. I started to feel so much peace within myself because I realized that the true level of surrender, the true level of letting go is acceptance. Accept the moment for what it is. Accept what is happening in your current life. I then thought to myself, how can I apply this towards every area of my life? Now the paradox is the moment I began to accept that one situation, the moment I began to allow it to be, within like a minute she woke up and she was like, oh, and she moved her hand like this. And I didn't really care one way or the other. At that point, I already surrendered to the outcome. I already surrendered to what it was, and I allowed myself to just breathe and to just be there. And I realized that that's the key to so many areas of our life. Let me ask you a question. If you start to accept yourself more, if you start to accept and allow the moment to be, will you really care how people act around you? Will you really attach and identify with how other people are treating you if you truly accept yourself? Now, I want you to imagine right now that you're looking in a mirror and you're looking at the different aspects of yourself, the external shell of who we are. You know, this isn't just who you are. Your energy field actually goes much further beyond that of your body. We think of this as the shell of ourselves, but in reality, it's just that our eyes don't perceive of the energy field around our body. You are much more vast. You are much more grand than you could possibly imagine. And look at maybe different aspects of yourself. Maybe you look at your facial structure. Maybe you look at your eyes or your eyebrows, or maybe you look at your nose. I want you to begin to just understand and be grateful for who you are. Begin to accept yourself for who you are right now. Understand that as you begin to accept yourself, as you begin to allow yourself to be the way that you are, you're going to start to change your self-image. You're going to start to see yourself in a completely new way. Be grateful that you have a nose that you can smell with. Be grateful that you have a mouth with a tongue, with taste buds, and you can taste different foods. Be grateful that you have ears that can hear this video right now, that can hear what I'm saying. Be grateful that you have the sensation of touch, that when you hug someone, you can feel them. You can feel that exterior shell of who they are. But understand that your energy field goes much more further beyond that. Accept yourself and know that you are much more grand than you think. You may identify with what you do, but that's not who you are. Accept yourself as being much more expanded than just the ego self, than just the identity for who you are. Realize that in every moment, you can decide to accept the moment to be. Now, this doesn't mean that you admit defeat to anything else. This doesn't mean that if you're in a match, a tennis match, that you're admitting defeat. Acceptance is the true awareness that the one thing that really matters in your life is your own state of being. That as you focus more on your state of being, as you focus more on how you relate to the quote-unquote outer reality, as you start to focus on bringing it within, on becoming more present to the moment, that everything will begin to change. Self-acceptance also has to do with becoming present to the moment. I promise you that when you start to become present to the moment, people will feel something about you. They'll feel like you're at your core of who you are. You know, I was recently at a workshop in Costa Rica, and I was listening to this lady named Dr. Sue Morter, and she talks a lot about energy. She gave a TED Talk, connected to her, we're actually friends now. And one thing I found interesting is normally we think of projection, right? We think of trying to get somewhere else, or maybe trying to influence somebody else, trying to persuade somebody else, trying to get someone to see things from our point of view. We think of that like we're here right now and we want to project out to other people. We want them to change, but that actually dissolves our energy field. That makes us disperse our energy field because our attention is on the object. Now there's this idea of subject and object. Subject is when we're putting the focus within. It's when we're putting the focus on ourselves, when we're focused maybe our breath patterns, on just being in the moment. Object is when we're focused on what's over there. We're dispersing our energy field. We're being identified with the outside. What I encourage you to do is to accept yourself and to bring your energy inwards. Now, right now, let's do this exercise, and this is something that I learned from Dr. Sue Morter. What you can begin to do is there is a muscle, it's going to sound kind of funny, there is a muscle at the floor of your pelvic bone. Some people call this a taint. I know it sounds funny. Some people call this the Kegel exercise. It's almost like you're going to the bathroom and you stop the flow from going. Now what you do is you can clench that. And when you begin to clench that, it begins to bring your energy in. Now what you can also begin to do is you can begin to breathe through your throat, kind of like a kink in a hose. You kind of like close that in. You might do this in yoga. It's like, almost like a Darth Vader type thing. But what it does is it starts to put the awareness in your throat center. Then what you can do is you can put the awareness in your heart, in the space right here. And as you begin to breathe, you can put the awareness there. You can clench that muscle at the bottom of your pelvic bone. You can feel inside your heart center. And if you have to put your hand here for a sec, you can, just to gain that sensation. And then what you can do is you can put the energy inside of your throat. Now there's actually 1 or 2 other steps to this. If you guys want me to make a future video on it, I will. But the idea is that you put your awareness there and you focus on actually bringing your energy inwards. You focus on becoming more in your body, more accepting of the present moment. And as you begin to do that, your energy field will change. Your energy paradoxically starts to go out and expand when you do that. That's why meditation could be so powerful for expanding your own energy field, for helping you feel more present to the moment, for helping you feel more self-acceptance. Now, that sounds like a paradox because you assume I'm going to project my energy over there and over there and over there, and it's going to become very powerful, it's going to expand me. But it doesn't work like that because we disperse our energy and then it weakens. So understand that self-acceptance is when you are aware that you are more than just this physical body. This is just the shell of who you think that you are. That the most important thing is how you are relating to the present moment. That as you begin to relate to the present moment in a powerful way, that then everything will begin to change. And my goal with this video is that you can feel right now the self-acceptance that I have in this present moment. You can maybe feel me as I, through the camera, you can feel what I'm saying and understand that you can always come back to this video to feel that level of self-awareness and that self-acceptance. And that as you begin to embody that self-acceptance, everything begins to change because you start to line up with opportunities in your life that really resonate with who you are. You start to feel completely different about yourself. I want you to know that you are whole and complete already, that you don't need anybody outside of yourself to make you happy, that you have within you the ability to allow the present moment to be, to accept yourself and to accept the full capacity of who you are, and that as you begin to bring it more inwards using that type of exercise or technique, that then everything will begin to change. So the other part of this is understanding that our subconscious mind and our self-image runs much of our life. So what I decided to do was to create an MP3, a guided meditation that will help you and allow you to change your self-image using NLP techniques, using ways of becoming present to the moment. It's something you can listen to right before you go to bed at night. And over 21 days is what I recommend. You will completely change your self-image and you'll start to see yourself in a completely new way. That's something you can absolutely download for free. You can download it in the description box below. Listen to it for 21 days and I think you'll find that it changes just about everything about you because you're changing yourself from the subconscious level rather than just the conscious level. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I hope you guys feel just a little bit more self-acceptance, a little bit more in love with yourself. And also, make sure you guys hit that little notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you guys can see the daily videos that I do. The way that YouTube does things now is you actually have to hit that button in order to see the daily videos. So hit that, and other than that, as always, I'll see you guys in the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste.